Good afternoon and welcome to What If You Could. I'm your host, Brian Searcy. And I tell you what, I'm just going to get right into it today because we've got a lot to talk about, and I'm very, very excited today. The What If You Could or What If We Could today, the topic is what if we could solve the problem with school safety? But not just the rhetoric that we hear a lot of times about having armed guards or locked doors or those types of things. School safety has to be solved with common sense approaches, and it also has to be done with a holistic approach. You can't just arm guards or you can't just lock doors. You've got to have a holistic approach where you go in and you do school assessments, where you go in and figure out, should guards be armed? What kind of lock should they have? What kind of new technology is out there that can help first responders? What kind of training do they need? And not just training that they get once a year, but continuous training that they get that builds personal skills, decision-making skills, but also reminds you and gives you situational awareness. So I was invited back last February to Operation Innocence. It was a task force that was created by Kyle Reyes from the Silent Partner Marketing. We went up to Connecticut, 15 or 16 former military, law enforcement, a bunch of entrepreneurs got together. And our job, our role, our mission was to put our businesses aside and sit down and come up with common sense approaches to solve school safety. And the big piece, there's a lot of big pieces that came out of that, but one of those big pieces was this holistic approach, number one. But number two, every school needs to be treated differently. You can't have a one-size-fits-all for a school district that has 50 schools, even 5 schools. Each school is going to be different. So that's the beauty about what Operation Innocence is all about. But when I was up there in Connecticut, I met Banning Sweatland from Emergency Operations Proving Grounds. He is my guest today. Banning Sweatland is of E.O.P.G. That's the acronym. And with him today is Dr. Scott Nichols, who is his director of academia. So I'm going to ask Banning, tell me a little bit about E.O.P.G.
Absolutely, Brian. So E.O.P.G. was formed about 5 days after the Dallas 5. I've been sitting on notes since 9/11 that what could we do to make schools safer, communication better within interdepartmental training, and that goes for police, fire, EMS, 911 dispatching. And finally went ahead and launched it and got an amazing team. And that's why I brought on Dr. Scott Nichol. He brings a plethora of knowledge to the table. And we're getting ready to launch some amazing things. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to Scott.
Scott, what do you have to add to that?
It's one of those things where...
Time limit? No, go ahead.
Right. It's one of those things where when I first met Banning, I saw what he was doing and got it right away. Where I knew where he was going, I knew what it was going to do to take time. It was just a matter of working it out, and that's what we've done. And we were just talking, it's kind of like having a baby and seeing it grow, and now we're to the point where it's ready to run.
And we'll get into in a few minutes a great event where I had the opportunity to go up to your site in Jacksboro and see how amazing it is. But Banning, talk to me a little bit about how E.O.P.G. is different than most other organizations. The fact that you can go and do a gun class or a tactical class. But what really excites me is that you're not just training police officers, you're training all first responders, and you're also training them all together so that they learn how to work together, because they really don't know how to do that, do they?
No, they don't, and it's not their fault. It's not anybody's fault per se. Is we're trying to change the training aspect for all emergency responders, and that's another thing I'd like to say is the difference between first responders and emergency responders. First responders are these true heroes and employees of school districts, and wherever a priority 1 type call will go, I'm going to call those the first responders. Okay, the emergency responders, I'm a full-time police officer. I like to consider myself an emergency responder because the first responders are already in there dealing with this tragedy until we can arrive and help assist them to eliminate the threat.
Absolutely. And Scott, one of the things that I learned from Banning that he just reminded me of again, and I usually get it right when I talk about it, is the first responders are the teachers. They're actually the kids that are in there, and it's not that they're being asked to stop somebody that's coming in to cause harm, but they've got to make those first decisions to try and make sure that everybody is safe, and if something does happen, then what do they do next? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I come from an academic background, being in college education. Excuse me. And to me, those are my kids when they're in my classroom, and I know how they feel. So if something were to happen, I'm going to protect those kids, just like if we were on the street. So I know how they're feeling about that. I know that they want to do their best. They're going to stand in between that person with a gun and those kids.
Great. Now, one of the things that I heard that I've known for quite a while, I'm a retired veteran, so I do get, when I tell people that I'm a retired veteran, I get that thank you for your service. One of the things that really does upset me, causes me some consternation, to use some nice words and not some other words that I might use, is our first responders that are out there, which are the emergency responders, the police, the fire. They don't get that same treatment as veterans do. Talk to me a little bit about that, Banning.
They don't. And the reason I would even talk about this is a lot of people don't realize when a police officer or a fireman is out there and they go to these calls, or they're just standing fast to go to these calls, the mindset, what the physical response is in the body is, you have to relate it to what our guys are doing overseas, and they're actually in theater, or what's called downrange. So when a police officer's on duty for 12 hours and he goes home, it's essentially you're coming home for a little bit of sleep before you go back out on the battlefields again. So it's a lot of mental strain, and there's so much PTS that's going on in the emergency responder industry that's it's not something that's considered cool to talk about, but it needs to be addressed. It's I'm very thankful for all these veteran programs that are out there, but now it's time to get a true PTS program out there for our emergency responders.
Absolutely. One of the things that I started Main Street Pilot for, and actually one of the first places we had contact here in Texas, was with school resource officers, because they were were having firsthand experience when dealing with high school kids, the lack of trust that the kids had with the SROs and then with the police in general. That's become a huge problem in our society. So getting that trust back is really, really important. But I will tell you, one of the things that happened over the last few days, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, really was the start of recognizing the great work that our law enforcement are doing, and especially those that have tragically suffered on the job from one form or another. So you had an event this week that you, Scott, and your team at E.O.P.G. Ran and kicked off, and it was an amazing event. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I got to give my props out to Kyle Reyes with silent partner marketing on this. We started texting and talking after our first meeting up in Connecticut for the amazing Operation Innocence. We reached out to each other and thought, hey, let's shoot an episode for the Real Man Show and kind of debut what E.O.P.G. does. And then the hearts and both of us thought, let's get some true heroes involved in this. And before you knew it, I wanted to get at least 5 down there. Before you knew it, this list grew to 32 heroes that we were able to host out there. And when I say heroes, obviously every emergency responder and vet, they're heroes in everybody's book. But these are the people that, God decided it's not your time. Some of these guys, they'll put on the uniform every day, put on that badge. Some of them, unfortunately, are in wheelchairs because of the event that occurred in their life. But we were able to host an amazing event, allow them to stay at our ranch. That's at Richard's Ranch. We were able to do a lot of stuff at our training range, let them shoot rare weapons for the ones that wanted to do it. And most importantly, we were all able to present a Purple Heart plaque to these guys, from E.O.P.G. to them. And that's just something as a reminder to them that you will never, your personal event will never be forgotten. And this was our first annual event. We're going to do it every year.
That is awesome. Scott, I think you can probably agree with the fact that Kyle, there's nobody more passionate about law enforcement than Kyle. He's the spokesperson for law enforcement today, but talk a little bit about what you saw from him and a few of the other people that were there supporting all the law enforcement.
Well, I think the biggest thing that got to me was the one-on-one talking to these people, where you're just there with a bottle of water and them sitting under a tree talking, and they're telling you about what happened to them. And it really hits home. It's not like when you read it on the internet, because you've got the person right there, and you can see the true feelings, and you can see it in their eyes, the pain that they went through, how they felt when they went back to their department, how they felt going through all the different stages of physical therapy or whatever they might have done afterwards, what it felt like to go back to work and put on the uniform again after recovering. And some of these people, they cannot go back on the street. They have to work in the office because they're physically not able to go out anymore, but they're still serving. And that's what really got me. And I know Banning and I, when we looked at our phones today, we're already getting texts of the plaque that Banning was talking about hanging on people's walls. And you look at that and you think, wow, it's standing right next to where they have all their medals and all their things from the military and the police. And there it is. And that's what it means to them.
That's absolutely awesome. One of the things that really stood out to me was the support that Jacksboro and Jacks County is providing to you guys.
Amazing support. Amazing support.
You know, we were at Richard's Ranch, Brent Hackley.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about what he has done and a few of the other people in that area that have really are standing behind what you guys are doing.
And we'd need 5 hours. So what I'm gonna just because of all the amazing support and the heart that came out for this the red carpet got rolled out for these heroes and E.O.P.G. and it was great. So Brent Hackley and his whole family, Richard's Ranch. Please go to their website if you're into hunting and all that. They do amazing guided hunts and they have some exotics and I'll let him speak on that more. But all I know is everybody's happy when they leave there for that. But he provided. More than 90% of the bedding and able to put these guys in these awesome cabins. Some of them are ADA rated, so that was able to help a couple of our people that came up, some of our heroes. Also, we had Cherry Homes. Cherry Homes is where our training site is for live fire. It's a beautiful 3,600 acre property.
It is beautiful.
Just the serenity when you get there is amazing. And that family also provided a house that's not currently occupied for some more of our heroes and some of Kyle's camera crew. You know, it's amazing. You also have the Swan family up there that dedicated their bed and breakfast above the bistro and in downtown. And it's a beautiful 5-bedroom bed and breakfast. They opened that up for our heroes and some of our staff. It was amazing. Mike Smith, manager of Jacksboro, has absolutely bent over backwards to make this event a success. He was able to dictate some workers to do some things on their off time that really helped us. The Jacksboro ISD was able to help us with a lot of things. They came up and volunteered and did so many things I can't even recall them all because it was so much. We had, and let me know if I'm running into your time.
You're good. You're good.
We had Brandon from SOS Firearms in Weatherford that did some amazing things. He also owns Gibson's. It's a store there in Weatherford. And then we have Mitch with Beck Ammunition and Beck Defense came out there and provided
got one of their
these.
hats.
Absolutely, so do I, and I proudly display it on the in the front of my truck. They brought out I counted almost 100 weapons, these rare weapons for these heroes to shoot, and he also provided the ammunition. That's amazing. So we had a lot of power sport companies come out there, and I wish I would have brought a list, but there's so many people that we're going to release actually a publication that's going to thank all these properly.
That's
everybody
awesome.
that came out and helped.
That's awesome.
One, I think the one you did miss was Frank Beeman.
I was going to clue over and let you answer that one. So
that would be another episode, but please touch on Frank.
What surprised me is we had breakfast every morning with the heroes. And Frank was sitting next to me one of the mornings, and we were talking, and he said, the lady who just poured your coffee is our marketing director. And I said, from where? And he said, well, the hospital, that's our hospital marketing director. And he said, see that lady over there that's scooping up all the grits and all the other stuff? He said, that's our CFO. And I said,
amazing.
These people took off or volunteered to leave for a few hours before work to come and help us out.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. There was a hero breakfast both mornings.
Yes.
And thank you very much for inviting me. I certainly wasn't a hero that was part of that, but that's where I got to hear a lot of these great stories from these young men and women. And but the part of the joke was we're having hospital food for breakfast.
Absolutely.
But
yes.
it was amazing both days, so that was great.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, they're the hospital in Jack County, if you ever have time to go by there and just have lunch, I give it 5 stars. I mean, they're prepared. They remember us when we come in before we even started this, and even start making my meal before I get up to the register to order. So it's amazing food out there. And also, if you're hurt or injured and you want to go by and get some outstanding care, you got to throw that out there.
Well, and they've also done a lot for you. There's a building now that you're using up in Jacksboro that's part of your program.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So the hospital board got together. They had their old hospital that's been there for about 60 years and didn't really know of what they were going to do with it. So they were introduced to me and my staff and board members, and they ultimately decided to deed this property to us. We're going to use some extra funds that are coming our way, and we're going to make this an outstanding training facility is just one of our facilities up there. So I don't know the exact square footage. We're getting it measured out now, but I can tell you it's over 25,000 square feet, and half of it will be set up similar to a school. The other half will be set up for corporate and/or hospital applications, and we're going to be able to launch a new software type system in there to be able to end that threat a lot faster. And we are going to be ground zero, if you will, for training.
Yeah, that's what's amazing to me. I've seen the renderings that you have of what this facility is going to be and what your vision is, and it was just amazing to see everybody that came and everybody that we talked to. They can see that, and not only can they see that, but they see the need for this. Absolutely. And the beautiful part of this is that people are going to travel from all over the world to Texas to get this consolidated training, and it won't just be for school safety. It's going to be for corporate, a whole host of things. But even more than that, just getting law enforcement, first responders, fire, everybody working together instead of training independently. That's right. The beauty of what you guys are doing. So let's do the final transition here. Let's go back to Operation Innocence a little bit. So I am just so excited from Main Street Pilot with the training that we have, the development of personal skills, the learning and teaching how to make decisions, bringing back responsibility. It's one of the cool things that Kyle talks about with Whiskey Patriots.
Yes.
So all of this works together. Tell me a little bit about your vision now. We're part of Operation Innocence and what we're going to do here in Texas. Tell me your vision of what we're going to do here.
My vision on this, and that's of course if everything gets backed, and I don't see a problem of it not getting backed, but meeting you up there and meeting everybody up at Operation Innocence, I felt like the low man on the totem pole with the amount of brain power, heart, and bringing God together again and injecting this, because I'm sure I'll have a lot of naysayers out there, but as soon as God was taken out of our schools, that's when the major problem started. Operation Innocence is going to help bring all kinds of things back into these schools, from safety to hardening a target, and the amount of professionals that are surrounding that is amazing. With the E.O.P.G. and Main Street Pilot, proud to partner with you on a lot of things, and we have a long road ahead of us, and we're going to be making so many things so much better. So I see Jacksboro, Texas being ground zero for this training event, to where everybody can come up and get a taste of Main Street Pilot, E.O.P.G., and a lot of other companies that are joining in with us to make our schools a heck of a lot safer again, and our communities, just with the training that we're doing with emergency responders.
Absolutely. So Scott, as the director of academia for E.O.P.G., you and I are really going to be working a lot, because as you put together the training programs that are part of E.O.P.G. to teach and educate and allow learning to take place for the administrators and for the teachers, and then the drills that the entire school is going to go through, that's going to tie into then the continuous training and learning that we're going to provide them. Tell me a little bit of your vision on that.
Well, we're going to be TCOL certified, so we can work with the...
And what is TCOL?
TCOL is the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. Anybody like Banning, being a police officer, has to go through TCOL. We went down, Banning and I met with everyone the two people from TCOL, and we thought we were going to get our butts handed to us since we're brand new. Didn't turn out that way at all. In fact, when we left there, we will be the only organization in Texas that will be able to use the Chris Kyle law, which is anyone who has former Special Forces training comes to us, and 26 days later, they will be certified to be a police officer in Texas rather than going through 5 months.
And just to break that down to you, normal police academy here, day academy can run you around 5 months, night academy, 8 months. The night academies are not running as much, but these Special Forces guys that are transitioning back into civilization with their skills and going out there and doing their private jobs, a lot of these guys still want to serve the community as either a reserve officer or even a full-time officer. They're motivated enough to be able to pull 2 jobs with their consultant companies. We're going to be able to allow them to do that and take a vacation for less than a month and become a Texas peace officer. So this is the first in history for Texas, and we're glad that we're bringing this to the table.
Awesome. Now, you guys also had a couple people down at the governor's roundtable that happened a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Some great things came out of that. How's that?
It's going great. We're waiting on the full report for that. We'll probably get that in the next couple of days. There's a lot of technology that's being injected into this, and once we get the full debrief on that, we'll do a full PR release on it. A lot of that stuff is protected, but it's going to be great for schools and church. any gathering point that's cut a roof over their head, now there's actually going to be, I don't want to call it a cure, but emergency responders can get in there so much quickly now, and they're going to be able to eliminate that threat, including the first responders and or employees or teachers.
And that's the key thing. And to your point, those are the first responders, not the emergency
Absolutely.
responders.
Absolutely.
So I'll tell you what, I was asked when I was up in Connecticut, just like you were, why are you up here? Why are you part of this? And to me, the key is to come up with these common sense solutions to solve the school safety issue. And it's not just the school safety, as E.O.P.G is deeply involved with. It's any place that has a large gathering of people, so businesses, hospitals, churches, theaters. So the need for this isn't just in schools. It's been manifested there recently, but this carries across the entire spectrum. And that's why this holistic approach, where we're going to talk about everything, but more importantly, every location is different. E.O.P.G is going to lead the way with the assessments, figuring out what they need. You guys are the experts then, with other great companies that are here in North Texas and around the country, to provide what is necessary in each school based on what their threats are and their needs are. And then from there, we'd establish the training. And what really excites me again is, I have seen a couple school districts up here in North Texas that have started to do some active shooter things with they're emergency responders, but those emergency responders are just the sheriff or they're just the police department.
Yep.
They don't bring in the fire department. They don't bring in all of the other pieces and parts that are required to do that.
When you have, obviously, if you're going to have a tragic event like that, and I wish I could flip a switch to where we never had it again. The only thing you can do is prepare yourself, and you've got to, train as you fight. So if you're going to do an active shooter situation, you have got to bring in all elements that are going to respond, period. And we have all got to learn how to do this as a team, and that's what we're doing. We will change the game on that. That's
the amazing piece, And then the training that Scott's putting together, that is the classroom and the other pieces that tie into that. And then again, to your point about hoping that this never happened again, if we can get in and start getting these young men and women to start thinking again, to have these personal skills, to start taking responsibility, to start loving one another.
Absolutely.
You've heard me say this numerous times. One of the foundational pieces of Main Street Pilot is the simple foundation that our founding fathers came up with in the Declaration of Independence for everybody to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Absolutely.
How simple is it if we all pursue happiness, that we're not going to lie, cheat, steal, and we're not going to want to hurt anybody else?
Yes.
So let's get those skills back. Let's get faith back, as you talked about. Let's bring that back. Let's have this whole conversation, get people start talking about it, and change the way people think, get them communicating again. And we can maybe not get rid of this, because there's always going to be people out there that want to do this.
Sure.
But we can maybe make it less of a in the news every other week.
And that's one thing, and I end my note on is we are faith-based, and I'm not scared to say that. There's so many people out there that don't want to say, well, if you say that, you're going to lose portion of your. Listen up, folks. We're bringing God back into this, and you're going to see a lot of change.
Awesome.
One thing you'll see out by us, and we started this every morning, is we start with a prayer.
That is awesome.
You have to have that.
Well, Banning, Scott, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
What if you could? I believe that Operation Innocence, Kyle Rays, Eli Crane, Micah Richardson, Banning, Scott, all the guys that are part of the Operation Innocence task force, but even more than that, just people that are building off our faith, getting together. We're all brothers, and I believe that we are working towards common sense solutions to help solve this problem. To your point, Banning, we're not going to get rid of this problem. It's still going to be in schools. It's going to be in churches. It's going to be, the threats are going to be there. That's the society we live in today.
Yes, it is.
But we can make them safer. We can also put things in place to try and mitigate even them happening in the first place. So I want to thank you. I think, what if you could? Yes, we can. Working together, we can come up with common sense solutions.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. We will be back next Friday at 3 o'clock with What If You Could.
You're listening to RMCN, the digital destination for premium talk radio.